Hi, my name is Greg Prickrell. I am building a Wix site for my coaching practice and wanted to use dynamic pages to show information and found the experience very difficult. I didn't find the documentation that helpful. So I'm going to show you what I've learned. So here's my site. It's in preview mode, very much a work in progress, but I have this menu item called contacts. And when I click it, it's going to show me a list of contacts. Right now I just have two people in there. My wife and I are in there. You can see my name, you can see an address, and if I click on read more, you will see all the information for just that record for me. So you can see there's my name, email address. There are also some notes that I've added. So that's a very basic pattern in a site. I want to show a list of things, could be things you're selling, could be things in your portfolio, contacts, whatever. And then I want to be able to see the details for each one of the items in the list. That's what dynamic pages do for you. So I'm just going to recreate this quickly to show you what I've learned. So I'm going to go back to the editor. Here we are. I'm going to go to the content manager. You have to add that to the editor, and I'll put a link that shows you how to do that. Super simple. But I'm going to click on Content Manager. I'm going to go to Manage Content. I'm going to create a new collection. And I'm going to call it Contacts 2. Again, just creating what you saw before. It'll pull up a very simple editor, kind of like a database or a spreadsheet. I'm going to change this to name. It's a text field. That works for me. I'm then going to add an email field, and that's text. That works for me. And then I'm going to add a field I call notes, and I'm going to make this one rich text. You can see there are a lot of options there. This way I'll be able to style the text that's in the field. I can make it bold, I can italicize it, whatever I want to do, and I can edit my information right here. So I'm going to put my name. I'm going to put my email address, and I'll put a note here. And you can see if I want to, I can bold this or do whatever. I'm also going to add a record for my wife. I'll make up an email address for her, and I'll put a note in there. There we go. So now I've got my list. I can have as many things in this list as I want, basically. I can import a file if I already have the list somewhere else. But the important thing is I now have a collection for these contacts. So I will get out of here, and what we're going to do now is build the dynamic pages for those. And the easiest way I've found to do that is to turn on dev mode. And when I do that, I'll get another set of options. I can look at databases, and there you go. There's Contacts 2. That's my collection. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add a dynamic item page. This will be the page that shows the details. And when it comes up, it will do some automated mapping. It takes it a second. I find this editor kind of slow and confusing sometimes. But there's my name, there's an email address. What I will do now is I will add a text field. So I click here. You can pick whatever you want. I'm going to pick this one. There's the text field. I'm going to move it over here. And now I want to map it to the notes field that I created. So I go to its connect to data. I click that. You can see it's not connected, and I'm simply going to connect it to the notes field. And there you go. That's the note that I added. So now I have the item page. Now let's go connect the list. So I will go back to databases. I will click here, and I will say add dynamic list page. And you will see that it will generate a page for me. It's dynamic that will show me a list. So I can change this to contacts, theoretically. As I said, the editor is like slow. Yeah, I find this thing very odd to use, but I'm going to call this contacts. And it's simply a list, everything that was in my collection. You can see my wife, you can see me. And now I just have to do one more thing. Here's the button that I will use when I want to show the details, like each record. I'm going to go to its connection properties. And wait a second, I got the repeater instead of the field here. And it's not connected. I am going to say when somebody clicks on it, I want it to show the individual page that we showed for this contact. So now I've linked this list to the other page, the other dynamic page that I've created. So if I go into preview, it will show me obviously a preview of the site. I'm going to see a list. And when I click read more, it's going to load the details form that I created. So the list is something called a repeater. You don't really have to do anything. For each item, you can add fields, and that will appear for all items. I link the button that's automatically generated to the individual dynamic page that I created. And now I have a list with contacts. I can show an individual field. And let's say I want to add a field called address. I can go add that field or those fields. I would go back to my individual dynamic page, the one that has names after it, and I would just add fields and then link them to the data. So I want to show you one more thing. I had trouble when I started doing this. I would create the list, I would create the item dynamic page, and they weren't listed. Or, I would click on the button and the individual form wouldn't come up. So here you can see contact to name, that's the individual form, is there. I go into its settings. And what I see is that here's its URL and it's passing a field, the name field. And that's really what connects this item page to the list. If you change the field or you want to link to something else, you can go in here and add a field. But name is indeed the one that I want to link to. That has some limitations. It's a primary key. If I had two people with the same name, that could probably cause a problem. But the idea here is just to show really the simple relationship. So you add the content manager, you create a collection, you then go into dev mode and you select the database or the collection, you create an item, you create a list, and then on the list make sure they are connected and make sure that on the item you're passing the right field as part of the URL, and you should be good to go. I hope this was helpful.